With Space Marine 2 before us, and doing quite well, you may be wondering, should I even bother playing the first game? Or is it even good? Well, I'm River Raven, let's find out. Space Marine 1 was released on September 2011 to the PS3, Xbox 360 and Windows, selling around 1.2 million copies, with the CEO of THQ saying it was slightly above their expectations. This sort of enthusiasm is a good precursor to what's about to come next. Most reviews at the time were pretty mixed and average, while the 360 version scoring a bit higher on Metacritic with a 76 out of 100. With it being classed as a success, 2 sequels were planned but unfortunately cancelled due to the closure of THQ. We didn't know it at the time, but we wouldn't see the title of Space Marine again for another 13 years. With its history out of the way, let's jump into the game. Literally. Our story starts us off with a Xenos invasion, on a planet full of valuable resources that must be protected or recovered. The Xenos race being the very capable, the very adept, the very quick-thinking orcs.
Get off our ship, Space Marine!
Maybe that's not true, but there sure is a lot of them. You'll be playing as the character Titus, a genetically engineered, biologically enhanced super soldier known as a Space Marine. And the orcs aren't gonna let you forget that either.
Space Marine!
Space Marines!
Kill them, Space Marine! Space Marine! You got new friends now, Space Marine!
First mission here goes hard, having you leap from your own spaceship onto one of the invading orc ones. Apparently this is against the Codex though.
Captain, the Codex Astartes does not support this action.
Going against the Codex is going to be a running theme for Titus, as he continues to do what he believes is the best course of action rather than following the rules. Taking out the ship, you make your way down to the planet where you will spend the rest of our time trying to stop the orcs. Well, till a bigger problem shows itself. Now you may be thinking, this game must not have much of a story, it must all just be about slaughtering orcs. That couldn't be further from the truth, however, in these first couple of missions, it does feel a bit like that. It's very, go here, do this, the orcs are over there, go stop them, the non-superhumans need help fighting, but for the most part you're going to be trying to secure the Titan. This is a giant weapon that they don't want the orcs to get. That is until you run into Inquisitor Drogon. He tells you that he's working on a weapon that can wipe the orcs out completely. With the thought of knocking off early in their minds, this becomes the new goal. And this is where I found the story started getting really interesting. The search for Drogon and what he's up to becomes a real driving force, with a underlying unease that makes you wonder, is everything actually as it seems? From here the story takes many twists and turns, which I really did not expect from this game, as it's advertised as super soldier killing space orcs. Characters and enemies they introduce from here are just awesome, and a much welcome change to the combat, as well as the plot shifting to betrayal, deaths, and a much greater threat to the planet than an orc invasion. It turns from a story about stomping orcs to an epic tale of saving the world alongside the sacrifices Titus is willing to make to do that. Now I am being quite vague here, and that is deliberate. I really don't want to spoil this for anyone. Somehow I managed for the last 13 years not to be spoiled, and really I did not expect a lot from the story of this game, and it really blew me away, so I think going in blind is my best recommendation. The only downside being the first couple of hours are a bit bland, but after that it really takes off. Something that also might rub people up the wrong way is there's no jokes here. It's all very serious, there's no light-hearted comedy at any point. Though the orcs are a bit of comic relief in the way that they act.
I'll rip your guts right out your throat! Sparky thing what you want, Space Marine! Then I'll take it for myself!
But besides that, the game is 100% serious. And you know, this is a testament to the 40k lore. In the grimdark future, there is only war. At the end of the day, this isn't a Marvel film. Speaking of lore, I think that somebody who's not into the 40k universe may find this a bit intimidating, but there's no need to be. They don't overload you with stuff or need you to know anything. There's enough here that you'll understand what's going on. I think maybe there will be a couple of words you may want to look up and research for yourself. However, I think that this does a great job of just putting you in the universe without the need of it being explained. It really treats you as if you have been living in the universe, and I really enjoyed that feeling, giving it a sense of realness to the world and the story. I personally don't mind trying to piece together the lore as they drop it. There was only a couple of times where characters would talk about a certain subject, which was spoon feeding you the information in case you weren't familiar with it, but it didn't feel on the nose or out of place. With the story out of the way, let's jump over to the combat, as that's what you're going to be doing for most of the game. The combat here is pretty simple. If you've played Gears of War or God of War, you'll feel right at home. Press X to swing your chainsword, pull the trigger to fire your weapon, need I say more. There's no cover system in this game, it's all very much hack and slash, with guns and bullets of course. When enemies are low enough, they'll flash red and you're able to do an execution move on them, which will restore some health. This may sound good in theory, but not in execution. See what I did there? Doesn't work all that well. Like, it is nice having an option to execute them and regain health. However, there's no other health items in the game. This is the only way you can regain health. The times where I found myself dying the most often were either ranged enemies that were too far away to kind of take out, and then also I couldn't regain health because I wasn't close enough to execute someone to regain that health, or I would die in a swarm of enemies while performing the execution, because one thing they didn't put in here was you do not become invulnerable just because you are doing an execution. Two easy fixes would be having health packs around the map. I think that this would have really helped, particularly when I was low health, and then knowing the fact that I would have to get enemies down to their execution point to regain health was very difficult, so health packs would have really helped out, or they could have just made you invulnerable while performing the executions. This is something that really should have been put in here, considering the amount of enemies you have coming towards you, and then while performing this execution they essentially all get free shots on you. This should almost be mandatory. It is that vital to this game. Not only this game, but any game with executions should really be making you invulnerable. Besides that, the combat is kept pretty simple with a good range of guns and melee weapons to keep you not only motivated but interested. I really like the melter, which is like this flamethrower shotgun thing that can take out a whole wave of enemies. The game will have these scattered across the map, however it is a good idea to take whatever gun shows up, as the game's kind of recommending you take this for the next section or boss fight that's coming up. The gameplay also has these sections where you strap on a jetpack to your back and smash down on your enemies like Thor's hammer. It was a nice change up, but I wish they had done this a little bit more, maybe with a couple of different things. There are turret sections, but I just wish there was something else, maybe like a tank mission or vehicle mission. Something like that would have been really nice. Now let's jump over to the graphics, which I'm not going to lie to you, obviously it does not hold a flame to the new one. I hope you guys weren't expecting it to. I would actually love to see them take this game and give it the graphical upgrade so it looks exactly like the new one. I unfortunately don't think that's going to happen. However, let's jump into the graphics here. This came out in 2011, so you know, it has 2011 graphics. Normally people are in two camps about these older games. Some of them think that the graphics is aged like a fine wine, while others believe that it is aged like a pothole puddle. I believe it's somewhere in the middle. The character models here look really good. They have a unique style to them, which will remain a bit ageless, a bit timeless. You can tell that it does look old though, but I think the character models themselves have had a lot of care taken into their designs and they look quite good. That can't be said, however, for the backgrounds and map areas you'll be running through, though the tight spaces where you're inside in a small environment I think do look a lot better. However, the bigger outdoor spaces only amplifies that there is a problem here, and it's probably due to it coming out in 2011. I think that they just didn't have the resources to detail everything perfectly. Lighting and shadows are adequate, but not the best. Now, I played this on the Anniversary Edition on Steam. Apparently there has been no graphical differences here and no graphical upgrades. I don't think that's true, however. I think it looks a lot crisper than the 360 version, and it does have a 4K option. However, I tried this, and every time I got to the cutscene it would crash, so I played it at 1080p, which didn't have any problems after that, and I think looks fine overall. Wrapping up the graphics, I think it looks fine. It has its own style that holds up, but isn't going to impress you, and unfortunately is nowhere near as good as the current day one. Alright, to my final thoughts. While this game has aged like you would expect any game would, the combat style and brutal executions and this epic story still very much hold up and was very enjoyable. As I'm reviewing this, I have finished the second Space Marine, and it would be hard to review this one and not think about how it impacts the second one. I think if you have the time, play this one first. The second one is going to have some big reveals as well as Easter eggs that if you haven't played this first one, you will miss out on. However, if you would just want to jump into the second one, I fully understand. They've made the second one in a way where you don't really need to play it, and they will catch you up on the story. But yes, I do recommend playing this first one, as it's got a great story full of great plot twists and reveals, and of course being set in the best universe of all time. However, I can totally see that people just want to jump into the second one first, so I'll say this: if you jump into that second one, really enjoy it, you know, come back and play this one and treat it as a sequel to that second one, which it is, of course, just not in that order, because I do really think that there is something nice about the simplicity to see where this game has now gone to and come from, as well as this just being a great game overall, that I think everybody who enjoys the 40k universe as well as Space Marine 2 should check this out. However, there is one thing that I cannot recommend about this game, that being its price. It is $50 USD on Steam. That is full price, and I cannot warrant that you buy it for that much, when the second one is $60 USD. So you can see where I don't agree with that price. This game came out in 2011, and I do not fathom how they can be selling it for $50. It's just too expensive. However, I think their reasoning is this anniversary edition was actually released on Steam in 2021, so not too long ago, but with no graphical upgrades and just all the DLC and multiplayer, which a lot of people aren't really playing. But on a side note, the multiplayer was still up and running when I did play this, so if that interests you, it is there. I should point out this also comes with PDFs of the art book, collector's cards, original manual, strategy guide, wallpapers, both the original and then the 2021 release. They also have a phone ringtone, which is probably more disappointing than it sounds. So this will all be in the folders in the games under extras. Probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but I really appreciate the effort they've put into preserving some of this somewhat. Still, with that in mind, I just cannot warrant this $50 price tag considering the new one is $60. So I would definitely wait for a Steam sale on this one. Anyway, that all aside, I really hope you've enjoyed this review. Leave me a like if you have, and comment your thoughts down below. I am of course going to be reviewing the second one. I've also been pretty active on Twitch as well, which I'll leave linked down below if that takes your fancy. But anyway, I'm River Raven, and I'll see you on the next one.